how to find, analyze, and choose the right investment property. My name is Chris Astolero. Welcome to LEARNin Local Live. Hey everybody, welcome to our show. It looks like the sun's actually popping out of all this rain. How's everybody doing today?
Fabulous.
Martin, Ellie, Tracy, how are y'all doing?
Friday. Oh my gosh, TGIF.
Yes.
Although in real estate, is Friday ever really a thing?
Yes, it's beautiful, beautiful out there. Martin, how's everything going for you?
It's pretty good. It's still pretty cloudy up here in North County. It is very cold in my house. But besides that, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. Excited to be back.
Yep.
And how are you, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great. I do love the rain because it just kind of washes everything out, and it's just like a reset button for all the pollution, everything that's been going on. It's clear, it's clean, it's refreshing. I absolutely love the weather. Winter is my favorite season, winter and spring. What about you, Allie?
I'm a big fan of the rain. There's something about the smell after the rain. It really, especially growing up in SoCal my whole life. I'm really, really excited for this time.
Fantastic. And Tracy, how are you doing? Super connector.
I'm awesome. I'm always so excited to cap off my week of just wheeling, dealing, making deals, connecting, really connecting with the most amazing people, leaders in San Diego, and to really bring it all together here on the show on Fridays. It's an honor to be a part of the show and have some fun. We're all here having some fun. We're all working very hard and grinding and, smiling, right? We're still smiling because it's just working with amazing people is what is the game changer. At the end of the day, it's the people. Teamwork makes the dream work is my motto.
I love it. And the sun is shining, and we're ready to move on to the next segment of our show. So let's find out, what is LEARNin Local Live? LEARNin Local Live is a live podcast. It's the only show in San Diego that really highlights and creates all this content for all of our viewers. So please comment below, ask questions throughout the show. And what we do is we spotlight all the subject matter experts in real estate right here in real time. We present off-market deals, and who doesn't want deals right now, especially in the height of this market. Everything is so expensive. We want deals, and we're here to present them to you. And not only that, we also have events that our viewers can actually go to. If you're looking to build an ADU, if you're looking to buy your first fixer-upper, if you're looking to just find out about landlord-tenant rights and other investment opportunities, we're here to provide it for you. More importantly, we're here to educate, empower, inspire all of our viewers to make the right decisions, to motivate you, to encourage you to get the tools that you need, the knowledge that you need, so that you avoid the pitfalls of owning real estate. You avoid all of the red flags, and you want to avoid all the costly mistakes. So we're here for you. And we are here with the LEARNin Local Challenge. It's a 6-week challenge, and we are on the 3rd week now. We have 3 more coming up after today. We've talked about the mindset of owning property. How do you want to own it? Do you want to own it as a primary residence? Do you want to own it as an investor? The mindset was really important. We talked about financing the deal because it's important to get the right financing. And today we're going to talk about analyzing the deal, because all the numbers have to make sense before you actually buy the real estate, because I've made significant mistakes when I was buying real estate, and this show wasn't there for me at that time. So we're here for you. We're here to give you all the assistance that you need. And again, we're here to connect, collaborate, and create content for all of you from our subject matter experts. So thank you so much for being on the show today. Martin, Tracy, Allie, my name is Chris Astolero with Exchange Resources. And if you're an investor that's thinking about selling your investment property and you have significant gain, On a $2 million gain, you're looking at about 30 to 40% in taxes. That's about $600,000 to $800,000 in taxes that you're potentially going to pay if you don't do a 1031 exchange. We are celebrating our 26-year anniversary. We've done over 60,000 tax-deferred exchanges and have held over $35 billion in exchange funds. And as a qualified intermediary that facilitates a 1031 exchange for you as an investor, what we do is we hold those funds for you throughout the entire transaction so that you don't touch the money. Because once you do, it's constructive receipt and you will get taxed. So if you're interested in finding out your options on the 1031 exchange and how you can create a legacy for your family, let's talk. All right.
Great job, Chris, the king of 1031 exchanges.
Yeah, actually, I had a situation that there was going to be an investor with some significant potential implications. So through the show, I got to meet Chris and we had a great conversation. We're still figuring out exactly what's going to happen with that. But yeah, without this, I wouldn't have known where to go.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And that's what it's all about, right? That's what's so exciting. You never know when you're going to need the resources that we provide here, because you will at some point need us.
Absolutely.
There's so many people out there too. And I feel like getting to know people's personalities. And I feel like I know Chris pretty well at this point. Great guy. No one else.
Thank you guys. And Tracy, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Hi, Tracy Hassey, Super Connector, Ticor Escrow Services. And we are a Fortune 300 company. Our mindset is collaboration, keeps deals moving and communities growing. And we are the leaders at safeguarding your real estate deals from cyber fraud. So I have a question for you. How are you protecting your clients' money and information and your commissions from wire fraud and cybercrime? Let's talk. It's a big deal. It's happening every day. And I've got some great insights that I'm going to be sharing actually on our show on 1212 with one of my top escrow officers. So super excited about that. Not to get off track. So at Ticor Escrow Services, we're here to keep you informed, supported, and ready to close with confidence, no matter how the market evolves, providing unmatched financial security and protection. And most importantly, with those top escrow officers that are going to take your deal, close your deal, take it to the finish line, and bring those dreams to fruition. So cheers to your success. Here for you as a resource, and let's have fun today. You're going to learn a lot. So hopefully you're taking some notes, and let's keep rocking. Allie, take it away.
Thanks, Tracy. So yeah, my name's Allie Perkins. I am a licensed realtor down in San Diego. Before getting into real estate, I actually was a financial advisor. Since getting into real estate, I have specialized in working with investors. So that is what I do. And I like to tell people with Oak Rock, we don't find deals, we find steals. So if you're looking for your next deal, we're going to help you find it. And that being said, I went ahead and brought in Martin on my team. So I'll let Martin go from there.
Hey guys, like always, pleasure to be back. I just love coming back, meeting on you guys. But yeah, my name is Martin Magana, now with Oak Rock Realty. One of the reasons I kind of transitioned over to this team with Allie is because kind of my standards and what I was building as a brand in wholesaling was changing the image of wholesaling, how it's seen in San Diego, and the negativity behind it, because everyone's had a bad experience with a wholesaler. They've been screwed over. They've lost a lot of money. They've been overcharged for everything. So we're trying to change that. We're trying to bring you some real deals that have been negotiated properly. And we're going to give you all the details, all the comps, all the realistic numbers, your realistic exit as well, to make sure a deal works for you. And at the end of the day, make sure that you're winning and are going to want to come back, do repeat business, because what's the point of overcharging our investors if they're never going to come back because they learned of our crazy fees? So we keep those low. We make sure our margins are very good. And overall, we just make sure you're winning. So Martin Magana with Oak Rock Realty, excited to be here.
All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Tracy, Allie, Martin. And you know what? We wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for you and your expertise, your knowledge in real estate, escrow, everything that we need to know about what's going on in the real estate market. So thank you again so much for taking the time out of your day to be with us. And I'm super excited about today's show. So without further ado, let's kick off the next segment of our show and meet our local influencers. All right, everybody. Welcome here to the show. We're here to bring our LEARNin Local influencers here to the show, the South San Diego side of real estate. So thank you all so much for being here. My name is Chris Astelera with Exchange Resources. We are actually located here in Rancho Bernardo, and we provide 1031 exchange services for all of the investors. And we've been around for over 26 years. We've done over 60,000 tax-deferred exchanges, and we're here to help you with all of your 1031 tax-deferred exchange needs. So our LEARNin Local influencers are here to talk about, analyzing properties, analyzing real estate, and that's what we're here to do. So before we get into the show, let's thank our sponsor. Lived in the property for at least 2 years, right? And if they sell it, they have the 121 tax exclusion, right? It's either 250,000 or 500,000. But listen to this: if they turn it into a rental property, they've lived in it for 2 years, they turn it into a rental for 2 years, and before year 5, they turn around and sell it. Guess what? They have the benefit of both the 121 tax exclusion, the $500,000, and let's say it's a $1.5 million property that they're selling. First $500,000 of that $1.5 million is tax-free, and the other $1 million they can roll it into other properties, no tax. All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. These are our subject matter influencers, the movers and shakers of San Diego. Welcome to the show. Well, we all want to get to know who you are. Our viewers want to get to know who you are. So please introduce yourself. Crystal, let's start with you. And you just wrote a book. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks everybody for being here as well. So I'm Crystal Hughes. I've actually been on this show before, so thanks for having me back. Realtor, investor, and I am author of Bridging the Gap. So I help specialize with buyers and investors to help create real wealth in San Diego and specifically also in the South Canyon. So through smart and data-backed decisions. That's me. It's what I do.
And this is Crystal's book, so I just wanted to show it right here.
Thank you. I don't have a copy of it with me, but
yes,
it's all right. You're already taking sales. Look at me. We already got two.
All right. All right, Miss Aguinaldo.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me back in the show. My name is Corey Aguinaldo. I'm with Wycourt SoCal Living. I lived in San Diego County for over 40 years, primarily in the South Bay. I grew up there, went to high school and college in South County. I'm a second-generation realtor. I've been licensed for over 20 years, and prior to being a realtor, I have over 10 years of escrow experience. I also did loans. I have a bachelor's degree in public administration from SDSU. I'm also active with South County Caravan in Chula, Vista. So I work with first-time home buyers, investors, and seasoned investors, and so I'm here as your local real estate resource. Thanks.
Love it. Of course, thanks.
Thank you so much, Corey. All right, Mike, please introduce yourself.
Oh, good morning, everybody. It's Make a Move Mike, Navy veteran, investor, realtor, acquisition specialist for Renovate San Diego. Of course, real estate agent with Premier Agency Real Estate. I'm here to make your next move a real smooth move. So whether you're a veteran or average everyday civilian or investor, I'm here to help.
Fantastic. All right, Allie.
Yeah. So I went ahead and gave a little bit of background on myself already, but my name's Allie Perkins. I came from financial advising, but with Oak Rock Real Estate, what we really do, what our big emphasis is working with investors. So we find deals on market, off market, bring them to investors, analyze deals. And as Martin touched on earlier, something that's really important to us is putting you in something you're going to be successful with. So we're not about just forcing a deal along. And we'll get into this a little bit later as we analyze a deal, but As things come up, we'll actually provide inspection reports. We'll do foundation inspection. We'll try to really get down to what's going on with the property so that you can feel really comfortable going in. Because as we know in San Diego, these are not $100,000 investments. These are $1 million investments. You want to be as certain as possible, right? You can never guarantee, but as certain as possible that you're getting into the right deal. So we really try to pride ourselves on doing everything we can to make that possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reiterating that, Ali. And you're with Martin. So you guys are a team here, which is great. And then we have Tracy here. So thank you so much for you all taking the time out of your busy day to be with us. It's so great to have you here, and we wouldn't have a show without you. Super excited to move on to the next segment of our show. Let's dive in to our LEARNin Local Insights.
All right. So once again, I'm Ali. Welcome to LEARNin Local Insights. So the big thing with LEARNin Local is we'll have a lot of professionals that eat, sleep, breathe real estate. And so what we want to do is truly educate people that are interested in getting into the environment. So that being said, let's get into LEARNin Local Insights.
Protection that puts you first. Your home and your family deserve security, stability, and peace of mind. For every mile, every moment, every memory in motion. Because every drive deserves to get you home safely. Comprehensive solutions that safeguard your operations, assets, and future. Farmers Insurance, because your life deserves protection that truly matters.
All right. Thank you to Farmers Insurance. We really appreciate you being a part of this and sponsoring this segment. So now we're going to dive into how do you find, analyze, and choose the right investment opportunity. So I started to touch on that a little bit earlier in the show. Things to look for, some of the big, scary things that can happen in an investment opportunity. That being said, I'd like to pass this on over to Corey. Corey, it seems like you have some experience in this industry. What are some things that you look for when looking at an investment?
The first thing that I really look for, obviously, is the price. So get to know your comps in in the area that you're looking, the days on market, and once you preview the property, usually I bring a contractor with me to give me a better idea of how much the renovations will be. So doing it that way, I have an idea already of how much I will be spending and how much it will be for after repair value.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. The most important part in a deal is that ARV, right? What are we getting into and how solidly can we identify that? Because if we can't lock down an ARV, it's probably not going to be a deal that we can move forward with confidence, right? That being said, there are a lot of other things to look for in deals. So let's go, Martin. Martin, what are we thinking? What else can we look for in a deal?
So you really got to touch on the scope of work. Honestly, the contractor at the property is one of the most important things because it could be a really good property with a lot of really good comps. But if you're going into a full gut rehab and you're going to put $200K into the property and it's going to throw you way over your ARV, it doesn't make sense at that price. So you really have to make sure you're looking at the numbers, making sure you're buying it at a price where you can comfortably make money and account for all the little things that you might not even think about, like your holding costs. You got to pay a realtor for the relist. Obviously, your escrow fees, your closing fees, any fees depending on the source you're buying it from, and being open to both on and off market because there's so many deals out there. You just got to be able to analyze them properly. So,
absolutely. Martin, feel free to pass the mic to anyone afterwards. I want to hear from everybody in this segment, right? So I don't feel like I have to dictate everything. If someone wants to jump in, please feel free to jump in there. But was it Money Moves, Mike? Remind me, what was that name?
It's Make a Move, Mike.
There it is. I like Money Moves, Mike. I'm not gonna lie to you. So maybe we integrate that somehow, but Make a Move, Mike. It looks like you're on the acquisitions team. So this is what you do, right? So what are you looking for when you go, right? We talked about scope work, obviously very important. I think we can dive into that even deeper. We talked about ARV, but what are you looking for? What makes sense for you?
Well, in price, that's one of the things I'm looking at, and the neighborhood. is the second, and then the third is in tandem with the ARV, the scope of the work or the cost of the renovations. So that's very important to maintain those costs and remain under your budget. So, as Mark mentioned, you don't want to go over your budget and creep into your ARV. Just making sure everything is dialed in as completely as possible, so that you're more or less, accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Crystal, what do you have to say on this topic?
Well, so when I'm looking for properties for myself or I'm looking for other investors, it's about controlling it. You want to buy a property that you can and control, right? So your after resale value, you really want to be focusing on your ROI. So let me give you an example. Let's say a 3-2 in Chula Vista is listed at $575. Okay. A recently remodeled house, 3-2 in the same tract, sold for about $690 to $710. So your return on your investment, let's say the renovation is $45K, you're in $100K, but the net profit after sale is about $22,000. So when you do the math, you're at about a 22% ROI. That's huge in South County because you want like at least a minimum of 10. So for example, it's really just going to come down to where you can control the upside, because I would rather have my investor buy something or myself at $575 and turn around and make a couple $100,000 versus buying something that's new, move-in ready, and doesn't have a whole lot of equity and upscale.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's pass this back over to Martin, because obviously I know you're the specialist in this. So I want to have you dive in as much as possible. So I know we talked about neighborhood a little bit and how important that is. So when you're looking at a neighborhood, right, and this all has to do with like comps, really is what we're talking about, right? So we're talking about neighborhood, what's going on in there. And all this really goes back to dialing in that ARV, really keeping that out as much as possible. So if we're looking at the neighborhood, what are some things that you might look for?
So when I drive properties, when I was looking at them, first, you will really want to drive by your comps if you found any in that area already to see the condition they're in, see why or why not they would have moved so quickly. You want to look at what's around it. You're looking for main roads. You're looking for churches. You're looking for any type of thing where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic or a lot of transportation. And then the other thing you want to look for is when you're looking for your comps in these areas, look for similar like properties. If you're comping a one-story property, you want to comp it to a one-story property. You could be lenient with the pool, but really, like if it's 1 or 2 story, you want to comp it to a 1 or 2 story. You don't want to do a dual story home with a single family that's 1 story, because it's a different product. So you want to make sure your comps are very similar products. And then I always go back max 1 year, but ideally you want to be in the 3 to 6 month range, especially with the current economic climate. And then the other thing you got to account for is look at the days on market of your comps, because if something is sitting for under 30 days, it's probably going to move pretty quickly. But if you're seeing all of your comps averaging 45, 60, even 100 days, you have to account for way higher holding costs and always over account those holding costs, because you never know what could happen. Something could happen in politics, something could happen in the economy. You just always got to make sure you're being safe with your investment. So always over estimate your holding costs.
Yeah, and I'll get into something a little bit more specific here, because I'm actually looking at a deal where a lot of these factors are playing into it. It's a great neighborhood. It's actually Rancho Penasquito, something that's been very stable. There's a house that has been sitting on the market for a while trying to sell. I thought they priced it very well, but it needed some work. And they're actually within 5 doors. So directly across the street and then 4 doors down, there are 2 essentially model matches, which a model match also puts it at same specs, right? So if it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,900 square feet, the model match is going to be a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,900 square feet, right? So on this pocket, there are 2 fantastic flips. They executed these things tremendously well, but they've been sitting, right? They've been sitting for 30. One of the comps has been sitting for over 100 days. There's actually a 3rd comp model match in this neighborhood. Professional. I know the investor, he did a great job with the renovation. It's been sitting for over 150 days. So while the investment might look great, right? You might think going into it, all the stats going back 6 months, put your price, right? The price you want to buy them at pretty solid. Looking at the comps, you're like, I have to be $100,000 cheaper because everything is sitting on my investment. So does that make sense to everyone? Did I explain that as thoroughly. Any questions on that?
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
Ali. To your point, actually, I think from the mindset of a first-time home buyer or an investor, to your point and Martin's point about days on the market, we have to think about, okay, if they're on the market for 90, 120 days, they might be a lot more negotiable as far as giving concessions and then maybe giving the buyers a buy down on the interest rate. So there's a lot more opportunities. And do you think that with the inventory on the market and with the longer days on the market, there are more opportunities for buyers and investors to negotiate better deals out there right now?
Oh my goodness. That's why I say we're getting steals right now. Like, I'm telling you, the price that if we decide to move forward with this property, if my investor decides to move forward with it, the price that they're going to get is a pre-2020 price because there's a little bit of uncertainty. So right now, honestly, investors, I mean, they're kind of what make the market go, but there is so much opportunity for traditional buyers right now. These things that are in between that need a little bit of work, but will still pass inspection, right? Still pass appraisal, do all those things. This deal in particular, I think an investor is going to get, but I would love to be able to pass it on to what we consider an end buyer, right? So the person, the traditional home buyer, the family, because there's just a very minimal work. They're going to walk into about at least $200,000 of equity in their home from the moment they purchase it because of the situation. And there's just no other way, that it just is what it is. The sellers, unfortunately, have to sell the house. And because they have these flips on the block, they just can't meet it. So it's a great, great opportunity for a home buyer, and they happen all the time. Crystal, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're right. Right now in the market, it actually is a fantastic time. We have for buyers, I mean, really seriously, since one of the last markets that we've been in, and it's because you have the opportunity to negotiate with sellers. But what I wanted to say really quick is the flips or these opportunities, they come from great resources. They come from sourcing. So a lot of the times these properties don't even come from the MLS, right? Sometimes they're not. And what you want to be looking for is houses with not good marketing and bad photos, right? So really quick, you guys are strong realtors, and that's who are going to identify mispriced, distressed, and all those homes. So we're looking at targeted lists. We actually pay for PPC lead funnels, Google and YouTube, direct mail, and then, knock on the door. But here's what I'll say. If you see a house that needs some work, go knock on the door or give a realtor a call, and we'll see what we can do to make that investment work. It's not just the MLS. It's not just Zillow. It's finding a realtor. That's actually where we own a company called Got Fixers, and that's where most of our business comes from, is other realtors.
One last little talking point, because we are running out of time, I would say, is the red flags when buying from either agent or a wholesaler. The big ones I really see are your unrealistic comps. Like I said before, make sure your comps are spot on. They're dialed. If they're giving you 2-3 years back, like they're not going to work. Like, don't do that. And then don't be afraid of just passing on deals that you don't like. You could be in love with the deal, but if the comps aren't there, don't let emotion drive what you're doing. And then the other thing is, if a wholesaler or any other agent isn't giving you access because of this or that, always walk away. Like, you should always be able to walk or see a property. Sight unseen works if you're really confident with your agent. You've been working with them for a long time. But typically, if it's your first transaction, never do sight unseen. Always walk it, always go through it, because you never know what might be hiding, what might be there, because not everyone is a licensed agent and not everyone operates with the same level of efficacy that a lot of us like to strive to have. So what do you think, Ali?
No, I definitely agree. This exact situation actually came up with a seasoned investor. There was an opportunity that was brought to them, not something I brought, just something they were looking at, and they asked for my opinion. And there were a lot of red flags. There were indications that there were foundation issues. So there were cracks that I saw in the pavement. There was flooring that was missing in the home. So I was wondering, are there plumbing issues? Did they have that repaired? What's going on? As I was looking at the pictures, once I got internal pictures, there were significant cracks in the structure, in the walls. The walls had water damage. There were indications that there were actually drainage issues. So behind the back door of the property, they had sandbags. So if there's drainage issues, you definitely have found it. Like, every box was being checked. And my investor wasn't going to be able to actually walk the property. It was going to be a sight unseen. So I just told them, hey, You can, it's your decision at the end of the day. If it's a great deal and you feel confident, I am obviously not the subject expert in that, but these are the red flags I see that I would probably caution you away from. That being said, Corey, what do you have?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Personally, I don't recommend I always want to have my investor view the property. And because I'm not also very familiar with like repairs and maintenance, I always suggest for them to bring their contractor with them. So the more they're there, the contractors there with the investor, they can already see, what's going on in the property. If there are plumbing issues, electrical issues, or cracks on the wall, they'll be able to identify that. And from there, they'll be able to make a judgment call as to whether or not this property is a hit or miss.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mike, what do you have to say on the matter?
Well, first, red flags is what we look for. That's one of the things we look for first after identifying the price, ARV, and all the things we mentioned earlier. We want some of those red flags in certain situations. If it's the worst home in a great neighborhood, a foundation is not going to scare us away. A little water pooling or some water stains, those things are easily repairable. But what we don't want is an onion. An onion is a property that has multiple layers of issues that are going to create mass problems for your budget. And that's the biggest red flag that we usually identify from walking the property. And if we can't see a property in let's say a wholesaler or someone wants us to purchase or make an offer sight unseen, we always make sure that we write that with a 1-day physical inspection, because that kind of alleviates any issues of us having to be stuck with a property that we no longer want to buy. So
yeah, no, absolutely great points. Because sometimes the best deals come from the worst situation. So at the end of the day, if you can budget for it right, it'll probably make sense. So Crystal, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, so red flags. Cities known for like slow or very strict permitting, like Poway or parts of East County. You guys want to kind of stay away from those. Of course, you permit everything. Number 2, if you can't prove the ARV, don't buy it. That's it. I tend to stay away from septics or wells, and also for the rural utilities. That tends to have replacement, high cost, and a very tiny buyer pool. 2 more things would be weird layouts. You can't fix those cheaply. Buyers run and appraisals will struggle with it. So yeah, I would say, like you said, foundations. Oh, slopes and hillsides. That's huge, right? So you got to look at your major costs. Is it roof, structural, electrical, or plumbing? That's going to be the most expensive. So find something that is kind of cookie cutter that most people would turn around and actually want to buy. Not to call it too cookie cutter, but yeah, ARV's got to be there or don't buy it.
100%.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for your insights. And ARV is after repair value, right? That's why, we want to kind of clear that up for a lot of our viewers who don't know what ARV is. But thank you all so much for your insights. There's so much to take into account when buying your investment property or buying your first primary residence. These are all great. And obviously, you have to hire a great inspector to go through the entire family. You got to walk through it and make sure that everything looks great. And as Mike was saying, you don't want it to be an onion because it's got layers and layers of problems. And it's going to be a costly mistake for you to get into this property. And what Martin was saying was, hey, don't be afraid to walk away from the deal. Don't be emotionally attached to that property, because if you are, that could be a very costly mistake. So thank you all so much for your insights. It's very invaluable so that all of our viewers know what to look for. Super excited to move on to the next segment of our show. Let's dive in to our LEARNin Local deals.
Alrighty, so this is my favorite part of the deal. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Revolution Realty Capital, though, for sponsoring the LEARNin Local deal segment. So before we get started with our local deal of the week, we're going to be going over a little bit of a tip, primarily in the focusing on the South San Diego section. So for this tip, I would say really involves more of like the Skyline Hills and Canto, that kind of area where it's really hilly. And Crystal kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's like look for any type of sloping or any type of unusable land on your fixer. Always account for that in your ARV, because if half of the lot is just a complete like downward slope, like 45 degree or something, it's unusable, right? So some of the things you got to look for, some of the red flags is make sure the drainage is good. Look for soil erosion. See like, is this going to crumble when I buy it? Why is it so cheap? Look at retaining walls. Make sure those are structurally set, and then get with a contractor to see if any of this is gradable, planable, to make sure that maybe I could do something with this lot. It's not just a waste of usable space. Maybe I can build an ADU on here. So always make sure you're taking into account the slope of your lot, because you never know, there might be some hidden value in there and you might just be writing it off. It could also kill a deal. So always make sure you account for every little factor. So with that, let's kind of get into the Learning Local deal of the week. Perfect. So this deal is located over in Central SD, a little higher from South San Diego. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath, 900 square foot property, just a little bit over a half acre. It is a single story with an attached 1-car garage, 1950 build. We're looking for around the 600 number. No HOA, but it's really a full gut, top to bottom. Everything needs to be redone. We have really solid comps. It's a cheaper rehab just because of the footprint of the 900 square feet. So we're not accounting for more than 80 grand, for sure. Nothing over 100 grand. And it really depends on your finish to get some of these comps to reach that ARV you want. But actually, I'm gonna pass it over to Ali, who a little bit of an expert on this one.
Oh yeah. So this is, I'm so excited to dive into this one with y'all because it got a little crazy. So the house itself, 1950s build, it's actually very clean when you walk inside. So it walks and you're like, okay, this is a very straightforward 2-1 flip. Like Martin said, very clean comps. It's on a big lot, half acre, right? But then not every deal is what it seems on the surface. So as you start getting into it, the previous owners actually built their own unpermitted ADUs in the backyard, attached them to the primary residence, right? And then in the backyard, there's actually a slope going downhill. So as we got into this deal and we started looking at it, what we thought would, be a relatively clean, straightforward flip, started to become something a little bit different. So yeah, in the backyard, we brought in inspectors. The foundation is actually doing incredibly great. So it's very minimal that, but you're going to have to demo these structures in the backyard. And then what we're actually looking at is there any retaining wall that we need to put in the backyard to secure this structure? So that being said, I know we only gave a couple pictures. Do we have any more pictures to show on this thing?
I don't think they're on, but if you want to reach out later after the show, we can get you the full property specs. But yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, we can dive into as much as possible later. Because yeah, when I first looked at this, I saw pictures and I couldn't quite figure out what was going on with it. But yeah, on the surface level, like I said, 2-1, 900 square foot, 1950s build, very solid comps, pretty square in the 850 ARV on it. But what we're trying to figure out right now is kind of what's going on with the backyard and exactly what do you need to dial in to make this deal feasible. So any questions with that? Anyone want to know anything more? I know we didn't give I'm a big info person. Like I want to see the pictures. I want to see the specs.
Yeah.
Ask questions, poke holes in it. Do your best to kind of tear it apart too. That's how you really analyze the deal. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Tracy, you're unmuted, Tracy.
Oh, I was saying, I want to hear Mike's thoughts, Corey's, Chris. I want to hear your thoughts.
Mike.
Corey, what do you think? Or Mike, either one.
Take it away.
Well, I thought I heard her mention something about retaining wall. Is there a hill behind the main structure?
Yeah. So what I was really, my number one thing actually, when I saw this property, so our comps have pretty good backyards. So on this one, there's a pretty good flat area around the top of the house. You probably have about a 30 by 20 on one side where there's actually another drive on it. And then in the backyard, there's about a 30 by 60. flat area that separates you from the hillside. And then at that point, you do have about a 40-foot slope going down. And then at the base of the hill, it's actually very flat, and that's all your land. So like I said, it's about a half acre. We were really curious if you could do, well, one, I do think you can absolutely do an ADU next to the house if you wanted to. Like I said, it's a pretty flat area. There's enough space there to throw something there if you wanted to. The backyard, like I said, they did these makeshift ADUs. There would be soil testing. There would be things that need to be done if you want to throw an ADU back there. From what we're gathering, what the inspector had said, because we very pointedly asked, what do we need to do to this hillside? And he said, because the house is so far removed, if you just knock out all of those makeshift ADUs, take all that weight out of there, you should be good to just throw a backyard and be fine. Shouldn't need to do too much to the retaining wall. But once again, I am not a retaining wall expert. This is secondhand information. You really need to get boots on the ground to see this thing, to understand exactly what's going on with it.
And
So
I'm guessing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
I
Mike.
was going to say, I'm guessing that those makeshift ADUs don't have a proper foundation, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh no, they did not.
Bricks, maybe.
Testing. They did not compact soil. What it looks like is they were probably in construction to some extent. They had the land there to do it, and they built it out. And yeah, they got to be demolished. They absolutely have to be demolished. They're just, I think from a weight perspective, they just did everything in like cement and heavy materials. And then on top of that, they actually affixed one of the ADUs to the primary structure. And so then you have this issue, right? If you have too much weight behind you, you have a hillside behind you, you haven't done soil testing, you haven't compacted, right? And you have a tremendously heavy foundation that you laid. Who's to say if that was even laid properly? There are cracks in the foundation, so I'm going to go with it was not. And because they affixed it to the primary, it started pulling, right? So that was my first concern is what did you do to this primary structure, right? Adding this additional weight, is this primary structure still okay? And thank goodness it is. We got a quote for about, for less than $5,000 to just because it's an older house. It was a 1950s build, original foundation, original structure under there. So do a little bit of things to the piers, but other than that, it actually is in great condition. So that was very exciting. But the back, I was like, gosh, get rid of this thing. I'm scared back here.
So my question would be for Corey, and I know that you've worked with a lot of investors and seen a lot of these types of properties. Because it's unpermitted, number one, how does that affect the value of the property when you're writing up an offer? And then also, how does that affect the loan as far as qualifying for a loan because these are unpermitted ADUs?
Yeah, with unpermitted ADUs, I guess it would depend on. Most of the time, lenders will not take the unpermitted space unless it's in really good structural condition. So I would suggest, or I would recommend, is if you do an inspection and see if the structure or the unpermitted additions are actually good and it goes with the rest of the house, then there's a possibility that it will be taken into square footage. But as far as the lenders, depending on the condition of the property, maybe traditional lenders might not be able to do financing on this property. So I think that if this unpermitted structures just are just in good condition, then maybe. But this, I don't know for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
And you also have some. You may end up having some appraisal issues when an end buyer, just say someone that's going to live in the home after it's been renovated. There may be, like she mentioned, the lender may have some appraisal issues with that space.
Yeah.
Not included. So.
So a good way to approach this would be just to tear down a write up an offer based on just without the ADUs, get a great lender, a good interest rate, tear down those ADUs, get ADUs and build those that are actually permitted, increase the value of it. And then that way, when you sell it a couple years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you have it permitted, and then you'll have a higher valued home that you can sell at a later time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I am learning so much from all of you, the banter, the dialogue. It is phenomenal here at LEARNin Local Live. And even the feedback I get from my escrow officers at Ticor Escrow Services, we're really seeing firsthand how important it is to have the right team. Yes, the team here of influencers guiding both sides of the transaction, because the reality is in this market, deals aren't just put together. They don't just happen. They are crafted. And I see you guys, I see the wheels turning. You are crafting this deal here and finding the flaws, finding the good parts and what needs attention, right? So that you do have that right ARV in the end. And so in the end, it's really the professionals who adapt, get creative, and get clients informed that are the ones continuing to win. So thanks everybody here.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy.
Thank
I
you.
definitely agree. I love getting on here because that's why I'm such a visual person. I wish we had a couple more pictures so I could really dive in so you guys could see what is going on with this thing, because it's a very interesting one. Every deal has its hiccups. You just never know what they're going to be.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's always great to get a seasoned expert who does inspections on it. That way they can go through every little detail about that property. And, you know, Martin, with an inspector, how much time do you think inspectors take to actually go through the entire property? I mean, obviously, you know, depending on the size of the property, what and how much time should an inspector take to go through the entire property?
So, like you said, it depends on the square footage, and it also depends on who your inspector is, because your typical inspector, if they're being really thorough, it's going to take them on like a typical like 900 to 1500 square foot property, like 1 or 2 hours, like, because they're pretty well, like good at finding the main items if they're really thorough. On a bigger home, around 2 hours max. Like, I don't really see inspectors being out there for that long. That being said, I have seen inspectors in and out in less than 15 minutes on something on like a 10-unit property as well. It's like I've seen some crazy inspectors where they just go in, quickly look at it, and just write it off. I don't get how they would have analyzed it like that, and they obviously didn't. But always make sure you're using a credible like inspector source, one of the bigger three of the companies. I forgot the names of them, but I know there's 3 big ones that people use. But really, just like don't save money on your inspector. Really commit to a good one, because in the long run, that can cost you a lot of money.
I think that that's very, very important. All these points. Thank you all so much for all the feedback and all your insights. Again, your experience in real estate and the deals that you've gone through is really going to help our viewers see what they need to do to avoid the costly mistakes in order to buy real estate, and analyzing these deals, finding out what that after repair value is, and trying to make sure that those numbers do make sense. Making sure that they're not just trying to save money on the inspector, and getting a really good one that takes the time to be able to show you everything that's going on with that property, so that you're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars. Like Mike was saying, it's an onion, you know, you keep peeling it and all of a sudden there's a you know, an invoice for $2,000. There's another invoice for $5,000. There's another invoice for $10,000 because there's some issues with the roof and, you know, just the foundation. So thank you all so much for bringing all this to light. I'm super excited to move on to the next segment of our show, our LEARNin Local events.
Hey everybody, Tracy Hassey here again, Super Connector with Ticor Escrow Services, and I love this part of the show, LEARNin Local events. We are going to share some hot events that you don't want to miss here in San Diego, but before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor. Take it away. I have a question for you. How are you safeguarding your real estate deals? Let's talk, let's connect. And I'm here to educate and share some insights that you may not be aware of. So once again, Tracy Hassey, Ticor Escrow Services. We are the leaders at safeguarding and protecting your clients' money and information from wire fraud and cybercrime. We have the financial strength. We are a Fortune 300 company, and we have the experts, the escrow officers, the escrow teams that know what they're doing with 25 to 35 40 years of experience. We are here for your success. Thank you, Ticor Escrow Services. I'm honored to be a part of this stellar team. So, hey, let's get right to it. Grab your pen, grab your paper, and we want to see you at these events. Our first one that we're sharing here is the Real Estate Cheat Codes 8-unit new construction walkthrough, November 22nd, Saturday, actually that's this weekend. Tomorrow, everybody, 9 a.m. to 11, Real Estate Cheat Codes with Andrew Greer. That's always fun when you can walk the property and collaborate and get some feedback. So hopefully you guys can go check that out tomorrow at 36, 34, 38th Street, San Diego, 92105. And then super excited, after a week from today, yes, it will be, or no, 2 weeks. We have Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We have 2 weeks from today, December 5th, how to analyze construction options. That is going to be our LEARNin Local, continued part of our LEARNin Local challenge here live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for all of you to tune in. And then the following week after that, December 12th, we have how to protect your investment and close the deal. And we'll be getting into some great escrow insights there and all sorts of good stuff with the local influencers here that are part of the show. So save the dates. And then December 19th we've got how to build wealth beyond your first real estate investment. So save the date. Every Friday we are here live and we want your questions. We are here for you as a resource. So cheers to your success. And anybody else have any events they want to highlight?
Nope, just super excited for all these events that are going to be coming up. It's going to be amazing. This 6-week LEARNin Local challenge has been amazing. And I think a lot of great content for all of our viewers, but not to mention all of you subject matter experts who are able to give us all this feedback and all this insight. It's so invaluable. And, I want to just tell the viewers, please reach out to these subject matter experts who are here. That way they can guide you through the process, because there's so much to take into consideration when you're buying real estate. And these costly mistakes are it's just, you don't want to get into it. You don't want to lose out on all that money that you could have saved by going to these subject matter experts. I think Martin wanted to say something. He forgot to say something over at the deal section. Martin, yeah.
Last little thought that we can get into the Q&A. If you're buying from a wholesaler, for example, ask them, are they licensed? Because if they're not, they don't have to operate on the same bounds that all of us have to. So always make sure you ask them, are they licensed and are they fully closing on their deals? Because that's what separates most wholesalers from what I think is the right way to do it, the way Oak Rock Realty is doing it. So with that, back to you, Chris, for the live Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you. So, typically there's a question that we have here. What does it cost typically for a home inspector to inspect either a single family home or multi-units? What would that cost approximately to get a good home inspector? Anybody can answer.
800 and up.
800 and up. Okay.
Yeah.
And, they just go through the entire property. They take the time there. Martin was saying that there are some inspectors who just get their, cameras and just take shots and take videos and then send that over to their clients. And that's not enough. So I think that it's important to really choose the right inspector. Okay. So there's a question that we have. We would love to hear more about the red flags when you identify bad actors. This is for Ali and Martin. Tell us a little bit more about those wholesalers that you want to avoid.
Okay, I'll let Martin do this. This is a great thing to talk about.
So like I said before, the licensing, right? Me and Ali are licensed. That's kind of some of the requirements we had at our old company, where you have to be licensed before, so it opens up a lot more avenues of stuff we can do, but it also forces us to work within the bounds of the DRE. So it's like we can't just do whatever we want. We actually have to do everything the right and correct way, proper disclosures, proper everything. And we have to disclose everything to the buyer. Not that we wouldn't, but it's like now we legally have to. The other thing is ask them. Most of the time, wholesalers are trained, don't disclose your fee, don't tell them how much you're making, and try to get an upsell as much as you can. That doesn't work in San Diego, in my opinion. It might work here and there. Some of the bigger companies, that's what they're doing. They're pulling out as much money as they can out of the individual. What we like to do is we like to keep our fees really low, because our thing is we're trying to get a repeat customers. So a lot of these bigger brokerages, they're pulling out 50. Sometimes I've seen 100, 150 grand on these properties that they hold for a long time. We typically are making between 10 and 20 grand, especially on the bigger properties, because we're trying to incentivize repeat clients. And if a wholesaler is being really like, I'm not gonna tell you the price, it doesn't matter, it's a good deal for you, like, I'm super transparent about it. You're gonna see it on the tax record once you close on it anyway. So I have no reason to hide that from you, because I have nothing to hide. So, and then I would say the other big thing is ask them how they're funding the deal when you're when you're selling to a wholesaler. Ask them, are you fully funding? Are you not fully funding? Because a lot of wholesalers will say they're fully funding, and then when it's time to close with the agent, it's like, oh, this came up, that came up. And sometimes that is legitimate, the case where something comes up, a construction issue, something isn't permitted. But most of the time, it's because the agent or the wholesaler isn't going to be actually putting his own money down. And at the end of the day, they're just going to be wasting everybody's time. So our big thing is we always close with our own funds. It's a lot more difficult. We lose a little bit of money in escrow fees, but it's what you have to do it the right way.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Martin. We have another question. There's a lot of fraud that's going on with regard to real estate. And I think this is in your wheelhouse, Tracy. How are you safeguarding your real estate deals? Can you dive into it a little bit, please?
Hey, everybody. So, when it comes to safeguarding your real estate deals, it's so interesting. I talk to brokers and realtors every day, and it's interesting to see people's thoughts on it, because some think that they're never going to get hacked. Their clients are never going to get hacked. But the reality is every day right now, somebody's getting hacked. And so we love to educate. I love educating real estate agents of the things to look for. Our escrow officers like educating and knowing that you are backed by a Fortune 300 company, because I've worked for smaller companies, but why I'm specifically here is because we have thousands of eyeballs on security, on watching the deals, watching the wires, etc. But something that's really important that all of you as buyers and sellers need to be aware of, when it does come to wiring money, you want to double, triple check. You want to make sure you have multi-factor authentication when it comes to wiring funds, because clients are getting, my nephew, he sent his money in, he followed all the safeguarding. It was he was the buyer with another escrow company, followed all the rules. Right after he sent all his money in, he got another emailing saying, hey, wire your money to this account. And he freaked out. He's like, oh my God, did I screw up? Did I wire my money to the wrong place? Fortunately, he sent his money to the right place because he had multi-factor authentication. He called escrow, but he said when he looked back at that email that was not legit, he saw the errors in the email and it was janky. So I always encourage you all, when it comes to wiring money, no matter what you're wiring money for, pay attention, double check, triple confirm to make sure that your hard-earned funds are going to be able to go towards that dream, whatever you are doing. And we're here for you. And even when it comes to funds, we provide net sheets up front because we want to know what is that nugget at the end of the day? What are those closing costs going to be? We can help you with that. My escrow team, we put together buyer net sheets, seller net sheets, and it's super valuable in moving through the process and buying and selling a home. So those are some highlights here. Was that helpful, team?
Yes. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you all for all of the insights that you've given us today. There's a lot of great content that a lot of our viewers can utilize. And again, reminder, we're here to connect, collaborate, and we'll create content with our subject matter experts, the people who are out on the field day in and day out, doing deals, making it happen, and representing buyers and sellers and investors. So these are the subject matter experts that you need to reach out to. So their contact will be here for you. If you want to join us on School, please join our community so that you can see the live podcast that we've done in the past, learn a lot about our show. and we can show you how to be a part of this amazing and growing community. And with that in mind, thank you so much for watching our show, and we'll see you at the next LEARNin Local Live.